Hello and welcome to our virtual yoga class. We'll take a moment to settle into our bodies. Let's remain in a seated position. So make any adjustments here to your seat as we begin our class. Noticing that your practice begins right now. You're making an intentional effort to create some more space between you and your thoughts. An intentional effort to start cultivating that inner stillness and spaciousness. So if you're in this position that I am demonstrating on my shins, or in a cross-legged position, check in with your spine, activate core, shoulders slide down, spine is long. Noticing those tendencies, those habits of shifting forward or taking your shoulders up. So right now it's an opportunity to bring some more awareness here to your posture. Settle into your breath, no judgment in the quality of your breath right now. You're just noticing that natural breath, starting to place more attention to your breath, taking a longer inhale and exhale. So one of our goals here is to cultivate that inner spaciousness, inner stillness that's always available to us if we shift our attention there. And then we're using our physical, bridging the physical, mental, emotional body as we're exploring the poses. Part of that physical health is working on that strength, stability, and balance, and that translates over to our mental and emotional bodies. So we're tuning in here, our breath focuses us throughout the class. We're going to practice right into this present moment, assessing ourselves to support each pose. And these poses begin right now in your seated position. You're breathing intentionally. Your spine is long. You're learning to ground into your body. We're cultivating this practice. I recommend inhaling, exhaling, sighing out. Noticing as we exhale, sigh out, we release physical, mental, emotional tension. If you ever have trouble concentrating, just lengthen your inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. It's going to shift you right away back into your breath and body. Notice your sit bones. Those are the bones near your glutes, grounded onto the mat. Core activated, chin neutral. Notice your fingertips, your palms. Belly expand on an inhale. Notice that release on an exhale. Inhale, exhale, sigh out. And then lift your arms up overhead. You're gonna interlace your fingers, purposely lengthen your elbows, palms spread open towards the ceiling. Now I'm purposely spreading my palms open, fingers are wide. Now start to round your spine, tuck your chin towards your chest. You're focusing here, rounding the spine. You can press those palms forward, thus separating the shoulder blades. Hold. And release, hands on knees, intentional breath. We inhale and we exhale. Take your left hand over your right knee. You're going to twist towards the right. Take your chin towards your right shoulder. And you're using that grip to intensify the twist. Release. Opposite side. Inhale. Exhale. Come back to center, hands on knees. Shoulders up towards your ears, draw them down. Inhale, shoulders up towards your ears, draw them down. Just a few times. Backwards and also forwards. And after those few times, release. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, stretch towards the right or towards the left, mirroring you. Back to center and then opposite side. Back to center, release your hands behind your head, twist towards the left and towards the right. Either moving quickly between sides or holding one side, breathing into it. And then after a few rounds, release your hands, interlace your fingers, extend your elbows behind you, open up your chest, your heart. Take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Release, hands on your knees. Let's take 5 intentional breaths, eyes open or closed. If your eyes are open, keep your gaze steady. Inhale, exhale. Arriving to your breath. Arriving to this moment, second breath. Inhale, exhale. Third breath. At your own pace. Move into that fourth and fifth breath cycle. And after 5 breath cycles, release your chin towards your chest. And then roll your head. Either full circle or just half a circle. And then after a few rounds, hands back to center. Inhale. Exhale. Shoulders up towards your ears, drop them back. Once, and then once forward. Awesome. Now, transition out of here, and now both soles of the feet touch, fold over, leading to your chest. Now you're breathing into your flexibility here. So what I mean by breathing into your flexibility, you're noticing where you are open, where you feel a little tense, and not to a point that's painful, but just see how can you fold a little bit more. Now folding a little bit more doesn't necessarily mean dropping your belly and your chest as close to the floor as possible. It can be just as simple as lengthening the spine and applying some gentle pressure so that your belly just moves in a very subtle way towards the floor. So notice that difference of just lengthening your spine and leading to your chest, just by opening your chest, lengthening the spine and just dropping a little bit more in a subtle way. That's enough to intensify the stretch. You're breathing purposefully here. And then release. Start to lengthen your left leg out in front. We're going to press our right foot right against our thigh. Flex our left foot, lengthen our spine, and then drop our belly towards our thigh. Hands can reach thighs, shins, or toes. Same principle here with that, with intensifying that flexibility. Lengthening the spine, dropping your belly in a subtle way towards your thigh. You can intensify this stretch by keeping that foot flexed, or you can soften your foot. And now release. Take that right foot onto the mat. Lift your left arm. So we're going to hook our elbow onto our knee and then twist towards our right. Chin shifts towards your right shoulder. Now I'm purposely flexing that left foot, lengthening my leg, lengthening my spine, drawing my right shoulder back, taking my chin towards my shoulder. If you want to be active here, take a comfortable breath. You can't really take a deep belly breath in these sort of twists. And release. Now let's focus on the opposite side by lengthening our right leg. We're going to press our left foot right against our thigh. Lengthen our spine, a little gentle bend to our knee, and fold. Shoulders drawn down. Deep belly breath. Be mindful of that breath, the belly expanding. Notice that release as you exhale. Belly expands. And release. We'll shift into our twist. Left foot onto the mat. Take our right arm out. Twist towards the left. Inhaling here. Exhaling. I'm purposely lengthening my spine. Extending my right foot. Right leg. And release. Let's transition here, shifting into our downward facing dog. We're going to activate our imagination here in our downward facing dog. I want you to visualize this embodied full body breath. Now imagining that you're breathing through all the pores of your skin, exhaling through the pores of your skin. Simultaneously, practically, pressing your palms firmly onto the mat, bringing your chest towards your thighs. Heels are lifted, hips as well. Inhale, exhale. Breathe into your hamstrings. Notice that upper body strength. Inhale. Exhale. Start to extend your legs. Plank pose. So we're going to hold our plank pose. Remain here. We're not dropping down towards the floor. Down. Plank pose. Heels press towards the back. And now lift back up into a downward facing dog. Generous breath there in the downward facing dog. And now shift back down into a plank pose. Hold your plank pose. Imagine your core is lifted up towards the ceiling. There's like a rope supporting you, lifting your core. Glutes and quads are engaged. Lift back up, downward facing dog. Generous breath. This is our last round. Generous breath in a down dog. And now last time, plank pose. Hold your plank pose. Release all the way down towards the floor. Belly's on the mat. Take your hands to frame your chest. You're going to remain here, lengthening our spine. Tops of the feet are on the floor. Press through your palms. Be careful with your lower back. So I'm engaging my glutes here for more support here, especially since we're holding this a little longer than we're accustomed to. There's a stretch in my abdomen. My shoulders are away from my ears. Inhale. And now curl your toes. You're going to start to shift into a downward facing dog. Generous breath here in your down dog. Now take your gaze right between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Let's inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. And let's roll up slowly. Let's make this an intentional practice. I want you to move as slow as you can. Arms dangling. There is no hurry. So we tend to live in a culture with a lot of doing, a lot of tasks, a lot of quick movements. So we want to balance out here, moving slowly, arriving to our bodies, releasing those anxieties, those extra thoughts, grounding through our heels. We're going to come into an active mountain pose. See what supports you. Eyes open, gaze steady, and it's very important, keeping a steady gaze, or eyes closed. Active mountain pose. If I try to move you, it'd be difficult to budge you out of this position. If I try to push you, because you're purposely grounded. Palms spread out, core active, arms radiating out. If your eyes are open, your gaze is steady. So I emphasize that because when we have fluttering thoughts or a lot of ideas or thinking a lot, our eyes tend to flicker. So we practice that steady gaze, supporting that inner stillness. And I like to emphasize supporting inner stillness, not achieving inner stillness. There's a distinction there. And release that mountain pose. To like a balance, we're gonna lift our arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. We extend our elbows and lift our heels halfway or all the way up. Once again, a steady gaze. And in this case, in balance, a steady gaze is helpful to maintain balance. Steady breath. Release your heels, release your hands, interlace your fingers behind you, palms either touch or they don't. And actually notice which thumb is on top and then switch it out so it's the opposite thumb. These are subtle ways we tend to favor different sides of our body more, so this is ways we achieve balance. Lift your chin, your gaze. I'm purposely bringing my shoulder blades closer together. I bend my knees, fold all the way down, elbows extend behind you. I soften my neck and head once I achieve that forward fold. Breathe into your hamstrings, breathe into your shoulder blades. Now drop your hands towards your shins, 3 rounds. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, really sync up your breath. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, last round. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, your choice. You can either move, roll up slowly or shift your arms up overhead. Same thing with your mountain pose. Hands either in front of your heart center or hands framing your hips. Eyes open or closed. So these are ways to kind of customize your practice here. Bring yourself to the experience that most supports you. Eyes open or closed, different expressions of mountain pose. You're noticing your toes, your heels, the length of your spine. Once again, activating that imagination. Inhale into the pores of our skin. Exhaling through the pores of our skin. We're cultivating those connections physically, mentally, emotionally. Another generous breath. I recommend inhaling, exhaling, sighing out. And release your hands. We'll shift into a warrior 1 now, taking our left foot forward and taking our right leg back. So our right foot's in a diagonal. We bring that left knee to a 90-degree angle. Now watch your hips. You have a tendency to open them up towards the right. Now for warrior 2, that would be great. But for warrior 1, we're still anchoring our heel onto the mat and then grounding through our left foot, pivoting here. So our hips are squared. You'll activate more around that right glute by doing so. Make sure you're not losing that bend to that knee. I'm even guilty of that. You just bend so you're stacking your knee right above your ankle. Now we're gonna invite a warrior 2 with an arch to our spine. So let's lift our arms up. You're lifting your gaze, your chin. Create that sense of optimism that our gaze is lifted. And now start to tuck in your core, long spine. Cup your forearms with your hands. Keep your gaze straight ahead. You're imagining your legs are these scissors attempting to close, but they can't. And now lengthen that left leg. So you're releasing that deep bend to the knee. Drop your chest so it's parallel to the floor. Hold. You're breathing into your hamstrings and glutes and hips. And even more, as you release your belly towards your thigh, you drop your hands towards the mat. Please soften your neck, your head. Inch your hands forward. Lift your right leg as high as you can. Right foot meets left foot. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release 2 more times with your breath. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. 3rd round. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, your choice how you come up to standing. Make it your personal practice. Notice by welcoming our breath or welcoming our experience. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up. Gaze is steady. Even breath. Notice that paradox of the movement within the stillness. Something that balance teaches us. Release your heels, release your hands. Either cup your forearms with your hands as I'm demonstrating, or cup your elbows. That's another option I'm also demonstrating here. Or shift into a reverse prayer, both palms touching, and then bring your hands as high as you can. Breathe. Lift your gaze, chin, a little arch to your spine. And now interlace your fingers, opposite thumb on top, or whichever thumb that is not normally on top. Bend your knees, fold down. Purposely bring your shoulder blades closer together. Extend your elbows here, soften your neck head. And now drop your hands onto your shins, 3 rounds. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, 2nd round. Inhale up. Exhale, release, 3rd round. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Be intentional in how you shift up to standing. Sweeping your arms up overhead. Slowly rolling up. Either expression, mountain pose, hands in front of your chest, or framing your hips. Noticing that spaciousness and stillness you're cultivating. It takes enormous concentration to create this sort of space. Releasing your to-do list for the day. Any thoughts about tomorrow or yesterday? Just noticing. And release your hand to warrior 2. This time our right foot forward, left leg back. Once again, check in with your stance and your hips. Anchor through that left heel, anchor through that right foot, bend your knee 90 degrees, and then pivot your hips while remaining grounded with your heels, hips towards the front. Then arch to our spine, we lift our gaze and chin and arms, chest is open. Your legs are these scissors attempting to close, but they can't. Release your hands, cup your forearms with your hands. If you prefer reverse prayer, go for it. Extend that right knee, dip your chest so it's parallel to the floor. Breathe into that right hamstring, right hip. And even more so, as we drop our belly towards our thigh, drop our hands. Breathe into your right hip, right hamstring. Soften neck and head. Deep belly breath. And now inch your hands forward. Lift your left leg as high as you can. You're dropping your belly towards your belly. Soften your neck, head. Sorry, you're dropping your belly towards your thigh. Left foot meets your right foot. 3 rounds. Inhale, halfway up. Syncing up your breath. And then after those 3 rounds, your choice how you come up to standing. Be intentional. Find those ways to customize your practice. Check in with your breath, your heels, the length of your spine. Imagine you're inhaling, breathing into the pores of your skin, exhaling to the pores of your skin. And release your mountain pose, whichever expression of that mountain pose you chose. Now tree pose, we're gonna rest our foot. We're gonna rest our right foot against our ankle. Or again, I'm mirroring you guys, so your left foot. So if you're watching me, there's that mirror going on. So you're resting your foot on your ankle, left foot on your ankle. You can remain here or bring your feet higher towards your calf, or use your hands to assist you to bring your heel even further up. So I'm anchoring through my right heel. Engaging glutes, core is active. You can shift into many expressions here with your hands. Find that expression with your arms and hands. Find that point to focus on. Feel free to step in or out of the pose. Cultivating that inner stillness and spaciousness, noticing the paradox of the subtle movement within the stillness. You'll notice that physically. You'll notice that with the fluctuations of the mind and our emotions as well. Creating that bridge of our physical, mental, emotional bodies. Another breath or two. Release your hands, release your feet, pedal your feet back and forth. Let's contrast that with a chair pose. Bend your knees, glutes, quads are active. Arms radiate forward. You're lifting your tailbones. A good bend to your knees here. Chest is open. Very grounded, a pose of strength, endurance. Bend your knees further, forward fold. 1 round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, be intentional as you lift up to standing. Mountain pose, either hands in front of your heart center or hands framing your hips. Mentally preparing yourself for your tree pose, opposite side. Pedal your feet back and forth. Take your right foot to rest against your ankle. Start to anchor through your left foot, your left heel. When you're ready, lift your foot to your calf or all the way up to your thigh. Start to find that point you'll focus on. Find a good position with your hands, your arms. Steady gaze and a steady breath. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands, pedal your feet back and forth, chair pose. Bend your knees, arms extend out. Lift your tailbone, protect your lower back. Bend your knees further, pull all the way down, forward fold one round, inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, we'll take your vinyasa, hands on the mat. Release down towards the floor, inhale up, upward facing dog. And then shift to downward facing dog. Pedal your feet back and forth here in your downward facing dog. And now drop your feet on, or your knees onto the mat. And then settle back into a child's pose. Taking a moment here to collect and ground with your breath. Inhaling, receiving anything that supports you. Exhaling, releasing anything that doesn't. And then after another breath or two here in your child's pose, start to release your child's pose. Ground your hands beneath your shoulders. We're going to press our right palm onto the mat. Lift our left arm towards the ceiling. Hold. And then needle pose. Drop your left shoulder onto the mat. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling, or rest your hand on your lower back. Release your hand. Opposite side. Now lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. You're reaching up through your arm, shoulder presses back, and release, shoulder onto the mat. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling, or you can rest it on your lower back. Inhale.
And then exhale, release. Hands directly beneath your shoulder. You're gonna inhale up a couple rounds, cow pose and cat pose. You can either explore two ways of approaching your cat and cow pose. You can sync up your breath, inhaling cow, exhaling cat pose. That's going to create more of a rhythm. You can also hold a cat pose for a few cycles of breath. Same thing with your cat pose. Really take an opportunity here. Notice any soreness or tension, compression in the lower back or on the tailbone. Take care of that lower back, mid back, upper back, and around the neck. These are top areas that people have issues with. A few more breaths. And you'll start to release your cat and cow pose. We're going to prepare for a boat pose. From the boat pose, we're going to lay down, so make sure you have room behind you on your mat. We're going to lift our palms up, lift our legs as high as we can. Imagine a cord lift our chest. Glutes are activated, quads are activated, core as well. For extra support, you can take your hands behind your thighs to lift your chest even further and maybe even lengthen your legs even more. Inhale, and then exhale, take your chin towards your chest and release. You're lengthening your legs and then dropping your head back. And then together, let's inhale here, exhale. Side out. Bend your right knee, take your hands towards that right knee, round your spine, forehead towards your knee, drop your head back. Opposite side, bend your left knee, round your spine. Drop your head back, bend both knees, both feet float off the floor, round your spine. Drop your head back, and then rock to the left and to the right. Release your pose. We'll shift into a butterfly pose. Soles of the feet touch. And then be intentional about how you wish to position your hands. Hands can frame your hips, palms up towards the ceiling. Hands can rest on your belly, chest. Arms can reach up overhead. Backs of the hands on the mat or floor, elbows bent. And you're purposely softening your body. Even though your body is relaxed here, you can probably relax 10% further. If you're scanning neck, down the spine to hips, imagining your knees soften further towards the floor. You're gathering a generous breath. This is the deep belly breath you can go back to at any time throughout the day and week. Now, remember, as we move throughout a day, we tend to not be that conscious of our breath. We sometimes even forget what that full breath is like. So take a moment to explore it now, anchor it into your memory, into your body's memory, so you can return to it more easily throughout your day. Exhaling, sighing out at any moment. Take another intentional breath here or two. And then both knees come back together, feet float off the floor. Grab your feet with your hands. And then rock to the left, to the right. Extend both legs out or bend one knee more generously. You want to get a final stretch from toes, heels, calves, hamstrings, hips, glutes, lower back, and mid back. I'm going to shift in and out of position, lengthening legs, bending your knees, one more than the other, rocking to the left, to the right, taking whatever you need for that final deep stretch. And you'll start to release the pose and now transition to the final resting pose of the class, our Shavasana. A pose that's deliberate and integrating our practice physically, mentally, and emotionally. A pose that teaches us the wisdom of stillness, of slowing down. We live in a culture of a lot of doing, so we want to balance this out by also just being. Both have their benefits. Soften your forehead, your jaw, neck, shoulders, down the length of your spine. Soften palms and fingertips. Release the upper back, mid back, lower back, down to the area around your tailbone. Soften around the hips, behind your knees, down to your ankles and toes. You can practice some deep breathing or allow your breath to go back to its natural rhythm. No control of the breath. You'll start to shift your attention back to your breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. You can restore some movement, fingertips and your toes. You can invite a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes. You can turn your body to the right side or left, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. You return to a generous and a leisurely breath. And then after another breath or two, start to make your way up to your seat. Move so intentionally. Ground yourself in your seat, noticing that stillness and spaciousness you've cultivated throughout the class, and notice that you have to be intentional about it as well. So there's a relationship here where we have to have agency in being intentional in creating these sort of spaces for ourselves. And notice it takes a lot of work to do so. So always appreciate your efforts, no matter how challenging it may feel at sometimes. And appreciate those moments where things come about much more gracefully. So on that note, we'll end our class taking our hands in front of our heart center. Intentional inhale and exhale of gratitude. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.